Man, see when it comes to this guy? This shit sucks. But what's good, fellas? Patriarch Panda here. I'm still working on my next big video, which is covering my tournament run, be the first regional offlane champion. I want to make a video breaking down Potemkin's 2 worst matchups in Guilty Gear Strive right now, as they are very, very, very bad. Again, don't get me wrong, these matchups should be bad as they are zoners and he is a grappler, but my goodness, it's going to take some learning for both the Potemkin mains and the people going against them to abuse these weaknesses. The game is in a fantastic state and the game is very balanced. However, because of this, Potemkin has new challenges that he has to face. So immediately I want to show that some bad matchups are just no longer bad matchups. Season 4 made Gold Lewis a pretty decent matchup for Pot. It got way better. Look at this. 6H is just the spam tool. Backpack can't do anything, bro. He's getting bullied. Again, matchups like Bridget get heavily affected by 6H as well. Because of the reach, it's kind of hard for her to make those approaches. Despite the fact she's got speed on her side, it's kind of hard to utilize it. And most matchups do feel the same. Like fighting Giovanna, you still want a 5K'er. Fighting Bacon, you still want to represent big buttons to do anti-airs. Fighting May comes down to dealing with Dolphin RPS and challenging it at appropriate times. However, there are 2 matchups in Potemkin's repertoire that makes you want to just end it all, and that's not even a bit, bro. It is so bad. So I'll get started with the main swordsman, Jonny. Jonny feels awful to fight, but it's not hopeless. There's still some counterplay that you could do. It's just getting to that counterplay state is just a bit For example, all the new changes to Potemkin hurt him in this matchup. 6H is a decent tool, however it's very difficult to use as Jonny has some fantastic whip punishes, so actually poking in this matchup can feel dire as you need to really bury it, otherwise you're going to get hit a ton. And walk speed is kind of hard to utilize. It's still decent in the match, it's just in some matchups using walk speed isn't going to come in as useful as you think it would in a lot of matchups. This is one of them. However, the main thing that really makes the matchup suck, Hammerfall. Hammerfall was one of your key defensive or get-in tools against the matchup, as Jonny had to use 2D multi-hitting misfinders to call you out. However, because now you lose to lows and Jonny has some fantastic lows to use in neutral, you can check Hammerfall really easily. This also includes plays like Hammerfall into PRC Potbuster, Hammerfall into Gigantor, and Hammerfall into Heavenly. You can check it all with a good 2S if you can see it in full screen. You can counterplay this with a Hammerfall into Gigantor Kai. You also need to get the spacing right where 2S won't hit you and you hit 2S. However, if he notices the perfect timing for this, you can do an FD cancel on frame 1. You might not even get him, but on the positive, you do take space. That is the positive. You do take space with this play. There's just some times where it won't really come into your favor. And again, Hammerfall was one of your best plays to get in, and with PRC, it got even better. But because PRC damage got hit really heavily, when you get that Potbuster from it, you might not get any good reward. The best thing that you have to do now is run your Oki, and if you can run the Oki, then it's not worth doing. I mean, look at the damage, it's so minuscule. Getting this Potbuster off PRC is brutal, as you kind of gave up a bar meter to just tickle the opponent a little bit, which again, fair enough. And you don't get the meter back, keep that in mind, no meter. And again, using the normals is very difficult, as if you whiff it, Jonny has an easier time with punishing you. One thing that was pretty decent in the matchup was also Gigantor Kai. If Jonny didn't have a bar, you could represent this at full screen and slowly take space till you take the corner. Because it disappears in 1.5 seconds, it makes it so the move will disappear, and the only thing that you're getting is really mid-screen from corner. The space that you take is good, but you're not gonna gain any massive reward like we would. Usually we'd send it and then go like, alright, let's take the dub. Not happening anymore. Can't do that. Overall, the matchup is still doable, but it's so difficult. You need to really be on your toes as Potemkin and call out some nasty plays that the Jonny wants to set up. Jonny is, again, tough matchup. It's still doable. But there is a tougher matchup that is way less doable. No! Axl's kind of like Jonny, where all the problems that we mentioned that were bad and made it horrific are worse. All of them are just way worse to fight. The Hammerfall changes are brutal. Getting caught in the shins makes it almost impossible to run offense, and when Axl has a 2H that practically reaches full screen, this is one of his key neutral pokes. He isn't even doing this to counter Hammerfall, he's doing this because he has to, and now he gets a counter hit reward on Hammerfall when this used to beat 2H. Hammerfall used to be the key tool to beat it. Now you lose. Again, I do think he's healthy, but my god is it tough. And Gigantor Kai was a massive matchup shake-up, because any bad situation could be turned into a good one for Potemkin. Not anymore. because of the screen space, Axl can just choose to actually respect it and walk back. He doesn't need to walk up and FD it anymore to get rid of it. He can choose to go like, oh, I've got you in the corner. Alright, let's go back to mid-screen, and we're just going to loop and repeat. That makes it insanely difficult to use in the matchup, because if you don't get the right spacing, you undermine his shit. If you didn't get a knockdown, then he could just, you know, hit you, interrupt it, and then he could just deny any space that you wanted to take. It's a very difficult tool to use in a matchup now, and again, that's a good thing. Grappler shouldn't beat Zoner, but Zoner is certainly killing Grappler. One change that affects the Potemkin Axl matchup that didn't affect Jonny to the same degree was flicking projectile. With Jonny, you can't flick anything besides card pop. With Axl, there's multiple tools to flick, for example the explosion, rinsing, stuff like that. However, they hit projectile really hard. It no longer gives knockdown, so that means when you get the hit, it's actually just back to neutral, back and forth, poking to see who gets it. The thing that really sucks is that it no longer goes full screen. Meaning if you manage to flick a rinse in, the best thing that you could do is just take space, and you can't even put pressure on the Axl. You can't do anything. You have to just send it and walk. You have to be happy with that. One counterplay that high level Potemkins are trying to implement is doing micro walks into flick when they clock rinsing, in the hope that they could get the space in where rinsing will get hit by flick projectile. But this is a huge nerf. Huge nerf, and it's going to affect a ton of matchups where projectiles exist like Asuka, but Asuka still gets heavily countered by flick. And again, same with Jonny, Hammerfall PRC plays just kinda suck despite them being your best plays to get in. And with Jonny, 6H was a decent tool to represent because he had to be on his toes to actually whip punish it or deal with it. Axl, it is a dead tool. They turned a god tool into a dead tool in this matchup because it's too long on startup, you're not going to get enough time to do it. He has way too many interruption tools and whip punish tools for you to use this. This just feels like a dead tool in the matchup. It's absurdly hard to use. And the walk forward, it's very easy to implement in certain matchups like Bridget. Axl it is not. You're not getting many opportunities to just walk forward on this man. Dash blocking, absolutely. Walk forwarding, not as much. Very difficult, but at least it's not committal, right? Walking forward is not a committal play. So you do, when you do get to do it, it's nice, but overall, it's not as effective as you'd think it would be against the Zoner. Yeah, these matchups are pretty bad. There's probably some other bad matchups, but these have got to be the two worst ones for Potemkin this patch. And the funny thing, I reached out to Andros for some thoughts, and I got some funny answers. He's fighting about Angie for these matchups, bro. He's like, oh, I can counterplay for sure, but yeah, no, I'm playing Angie. That may be the play, and he's right on this because Leo also has a tough time against Axl, right? He's another character who struggles against Axl. In the end, Potemkin will struggle against these characters, and if you're a Potemkin main, it might be best to learn some counterplay that I mentioned before to do with Hammerfall Gigantor, but you've got to be on your toes. It's very difficult. Try win round start if you can. Jonny's a little harder, Axl's way easier, and best of luck to you fellas. I hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to like and subscribe, comment, hype. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to check out the membership system, also awesome. And on the Twitch, I've been streaming a lot more. I'm not streaming today, which I think is Wednesday. I might try to stream tomorrow, but it'll be a little later for sure, which will be the Thursday. And I'll catch you guys then. And I'll see you in the next big video. Edinburgh 5. See ya.